What happens when you die? Centuries have been spent arguing and convincing others the truth. I don't know if I have everyone's answer, but I have my truth. With every death, before came life. My name is Emma. I'm 22 years old, and for the first time I finally felt like life was starting to make sense. I'd just moved out of my parents' house into a small but cozy apartment with my boyfriend, Ryan. We lived each day one step closer to a life we hadn't even lived yet but enjoyed the journey. I worked part-time at a coffee shop while finishing school to become a child psychologist. I could see the finish line, our wedding day, our first little house, and the German Shepherd we promised each other once we had a yard. I could almost hear the bark echoing through the hallways of a life we hadn't built yet. Everything was clear, but I never saw the car that ran the red light. I remember the screeching of tires and smell of iron as my perfect little world went dark. The next thing I knew, I was in a hospital bed, the dull beep of the monitor confirming to me my heartbeat was still present. My body was wrong, dead weight, limp, a sack of wet sand refusing to obey. I'm sure my eyes were open, but I could only see in splotches and light. The attempt to speak was futile. I moved my tongue around my mouth and noticed I had lost all my teeth. Toothless gums replaced my smile. I had worked so hard and withstood years of braces only to have them ripped away from me. My hearing was dulled, almost like I was underwater. I could feel the presence of people around me. I heard the creak of a door open and someone began to speak. Nous sommes à la fin d'un très long parcours. Was that French? I took 3 years in high school. I didn't understand all of it, but I heard fin, the end. I wasn't sure, but the tone said more than the words ever could. Why were they speaking French? I don't think anyone from my family spoke French. We were as Irish as potatoes and whiskey. I felt a pressure on my hand as a dip of water landed on my cheek. On se reverra, Papa, a hushed, sniffled voice spoke in my ear. Papa? I tried to look past the blur, but I couldn't see anything in detail. I was basically blind. I just heard the faint weeping of several around me, as another pressure began on my other hand. I sat like that for what felt like an eternity, not able to move or speak or understand truly what was happening around me. I focused on my breathing. It was slow and labored. The beeping slowed, the world faded. I sat behind a desk as the rising sun crept through the high-rise windows. The dystopian cityscape outside was unlike anything I had seen. I grew up in small-town Vermont. I was used to small brick buildings and colonial-style houses. This was a metropolis, newer than New York, gleaming and sharp. On the desk sat a nameplate written in a language I couldn't read. My eyes dropped to my body. A tailored business blouse. This wasn't me. This wasn't my body. My hands were pristine, coated in a red polish on the nails, breasts larger than my own. This wasn't me. My body felt fake, stiff as if even my smile had been manufactured. I pressed closer to the window and realized I was hundreds of stories up. My reflection stared back, beautiful, meticulously mutilated into perfection. Panic surged through me. What was happening? Where was I? Who am I? My breathing boiled until it broke into hyperventilation. I threw myself at the glass. It didn't break, but knocked the air from my chest. I ran. I ran out of the office and down the hall. I had many people shouting at me, perhaps out of concern. I couldn't understand a word. I ran and saw an open door that led to a balcony. There were people out there talking and filling the air with smoke and conversation which I could not be a part of. Some of them stopped and gave me a raised eyebrow. I could only let out a nervous laugh. Several people walked up to me, gently laying their hand on me, talking hushed and calm. I just wanted to wake up. This dream had gone on enough. I took a deep breath and put myself together. The people took a step back and let out a nervous laugh. Once they didn't seem as alert, I darted to the edge. I leapt. The ground so far away, the screams of those around me became a distant hum as the air around my freefall deafened me. It was time to try something. Maybe I can make this a lucid dream. I thought about flying, flapping my arms, in desperation to take flight. All efforts were futile. I sank through the sky like an anchor. All time to reflect on what was happening passed by in a flash as the earth welcomed me with its solid embrace. A sharp migraine pulsed through my skull. Machinery roared around me, men shouting over the chaos. Sunlight blazed down, so bright it felt like a slap after the darkness I'd just left. Slowly the world came into focus. The acrid mix of sweat and tar stung my nose. I raised a hand to cover my face and froze. Black-stained leather gloves. I tugged one off. A swollen, hairy hand stared back at me. My arm was thick, darkened by sun and ink, muscles corded where pale skin once was. A bold tattoo stretched across the forearm. Olivia. Who was Olivia? Why was I hairy, muscular? This has to be a dream, I thought. I'll wake up any second. Around me, men worked the road, some smoking, some eating their lunches. It was too ordinary, too real. Desperate, I pinched myself. Pain flared. Panic set in. My chest heaved, my breaths rasped. A man noticed and jogged over. "Hey, Danny, the hell's wrong with you?" "Danny?" My voice came out deeper, alien. "No, I'm Emma. Where am I?" He frowned, then chuckled uneasily, peering into my eyes. "What the fuck? You having a heat stroke or something, buddy?" My heart was about to explode out of my chest. I had to wake up any means necessary. I spun my head and saw what could get the job done. A bit brutal, but it was the first thing I saw. A steamroller. I stepped away from the man and ran full speed ahead. It rolled slowly and I acted fast. Some men started to yell. I'm sure they didn't know what I was planning. I slid, trying to jam myself under the giant wheel. I managed to get my right arm and shoulder wedged. As the flattener crawled forward, I felt the evisceration of bone as it turned to dust. It felt like my body was being engulfed in the presence of the sun. I could hear the screams of men as the machine hissed. It slowly rolled an inch and pressed onto my skull, which caved quickly, cracking like a walnut shell. Dust and sand filled my eyes as the ricocheting of bullets whizzed past. The buildings around me were sheet metal. The streets around me were drenched in blood and bodies. I heard shouts to my left. My ears were ringing. I had a gun in my hands. I cried. I couldn't take this. I had the easiest way to end it right in my palms, but I couldn't. Too much was happening so fast. I heard shots very close. The door to the room I was sitting in was kicked open. I threw my hands up. I gasped as my hands were still in front of me. They were so small, pudgy little fingers. I was a child, toddler perhaps. The gunfire was gone. The only noise was the ambient sound of the ceiling fan. I laid my head back on a little lamb stuffed animal. I attempted to move my legs. I could, but they were weak. I don't think they could hold me up. I wasn't just a toddler, I was a baby. I might as well act the part. I bawled my eyes out, screaming at the top of my little lungs. Soon a woman walked into the room, plump, unkempt red hair. "Ooh, my little one, come here." She spoke in a soothing British accent. She picked me up and started to rock me. It calmed me. I collected my thoughts. What was I supposed to do? The idea this was a dream started to fade. She hummed and rubbed my back. But I wasn't going to just go to sleep. I needed answers. I tried my best to talk. It didn't come naturally, like speaking through taffy. Even if I could talk, what would I say? I looked around my environment. Statues and paintings of Jesus and the Virgin Mary surrounded me. The room was charming. Stacks of envelopes covered kitchen table. Among the religious imagery was several photos of a man. Thinning hair and a bushy mustache. Square, thin-framed glasses sat. There were a couple photos of the lady and him sat on a mantle. A wooden sign with the words, "Forever in my heart, in the arms of the Lord," carved and painted into it. "You see, Daddy?" She noticed my glare and stepped to the picture. I struggled to speak as my muscles were underdeveloped. Like a stroke victim attempting communication, I knew what I wanted to say, but my mouth made me struggle. Would her precious child's first words be a plea for help? I could only stay here for so long. I can't wait to grow. My life's experience crammed into this fresh spawn. The moving of my mouth and tongue took surgical precision. The mother took notice, and awed in glee with the anticipation of the long-awaited voice of their child. Gargles and gasps left my little mouth in a struggled desperation to be heard. She gawked with glee, guiding my attempts to mama or papa. I could do this. Walking on undeveloped muscles would be nearly impossible, but talking, I could make this work. I pushed out the beginning, but the rolling of the L was a struggle. The poor mother began to speak with me. Hello, hello. Her smile was almost ripping. She couldn't possibly smile any wider. I stopped my attempts and went quiet. She was still smiling, but it began to shrink. The warmth never left her eyes. You've got so much to say, don't you? She looked at me with only the love of a mother could give to a child. The mother carried me to a crib, a wonderful hand-carved wooden frame, a quaint small cross carved into the head of it and covered in a soft powdered blue paint. I couldn't do much besides look up. She gave me a kiss on the crown of my head. The mother left me in the room, not before spinning a music box and leaving the sweet crackling sound. Left in the isolation of my squishy, weak body. Left to ponder what my world had become. Yesterday I was in the midst of bliss. The blur of the accident was still present. I'm cognizant enough to remember, but the hospital, the skyscraper, road construction, trying to make sense of this hodgepodge of consciousness. Speech did not come naturally, but I had my goal. I spent the night fighting my vocals, but I was making progress. The night dragged like a fever dream. I wrestled with the mush of my throat and tongue, shaping noises, learning how to steer the muscles like oars through syrup, coaxing vowels to shape. Every grunt, every accidental syllable was progress. My mind was aflame with clarity, but my body was still a cage. When she came to me again, arms smelling faintly of lavender soap and stale coffee, her face beamed with expectation. She brushed a curl of red hair behind her ear and whispered in her soft British lilt, "Come on then, my sweet boy. Let Mama hear you. Say a word for me." I tried. Air hissed and stuttered out of me, a wet gargle, but I pressed harder. "Ma." Her eyes shone. Yes, yes, clever lad." I shook my head weakly, furious at the misinterpretation. Again I forced the sound out, this time dragging my vocal cords like knives across stone. Ma, no, help." Her smile faltered. She blinked at me, uncomprehending, until the syllables stacked on top of each other, crude but clear. "I'm Nat, you baby." She froze. The joy drained from her face in an instant. Her arms stiffened around me, as though I had turned to ice in her grasp. I pressed on, desperate to make her understand. No baby, Emma, Each word came jagged, broken, stitched together by sheer will. I could hear how wrong it sounded, like a drunkard's confession slurred through rotten teeth. But the truth was there, naked and damning. Her lips quivered. She backed away from me, clutching me to her chest, not out of love, but like someone holding a venomous serpent. No, that's not my boy. My boy can't." Her eyes darted to the mantel where her husband's photograph sat beneath the wooden sign. "This is a trick. A wicked trick." I sobbed, coughing against the effort, but I forced the words again. Accident, car, light, hospital, fan, no dead." She shrieked, dropping me back into the crib. Her hands clutched her temples as though the words themselves were nails being driven into her skull. "Stop! Stop it, don't you say those things. Not in my house, not in front of the Lord." Her gaze snapped back to me, and for the first time the love in her eyes was gone. In its place, raw terror, fevered conviction. She saw not her child, but an intruder wearing his skin. "You're not him," You're not my baby. You're the devil himself crawling in through the mouth of an innocent. I cried out again, begging through gasps. No devil, me, Emma, please help me, please. Her body shook with sobs, her hands wringing at her nightgown until the seams nearly tore. Then something hardened in her, a grim resolve twisting her grief into madness. She staggered toward the crib, whispering as though in prayer, I won't let you have him. I won't let you take my sweet boy. Better the Lord have him than you. I screamed, voice breaking into a desperate litany of truth. No baby, car crash, Emma, no devil, no devil, no. The pillow came down, blotting out my vision. The smell of stale linen filled my lungs as her weight pressed down. My tiny fists beat helplessly against the suffocating fabric. Every word I'd fought to claw from this body smothered back into silence. Above me, I heard her sobbing prayers, fractured and wild. Forgive me, Lord, forgive me. Take him home, take him home. The music box still played on the dresser, its tinny, crackling notes winding down, note by note, until there was nothing left but darkness. I sat at a kitchen table surrounded by people, a woman and 2 children, a young girl probably around 5 and a boy about 9. The little girl sat in braids, her gapped smile widened as she took a large bite of her food. The boy wore jersey. I think it's a Denver Broncos jersey. I must be in America then. Todd, are you okay, dear? You look a bit pale, the woman said with a look of worry on her face. He must have wanted pizza too. Huh, Dad? The boy spoke with a rowdiness only achievable by someone his age. I love the macaroni, said the girl, smiling so bright. Yeah, of course you do, that's all you ever eat, exclaimed the boy. Their bickering continued. I scooted my chair back. I've got to go to the bathroom. I went to excuse myself. I don't know where the bathroom is. This was a different panic, not one of desperation to use it, but that if this is my house, I should know where it is. I tried to look as confident as I could, cautiously looking down the hallway to see if I could spot it out if I had to open door. Unfortunately, I had to play the guessing game. I tried the first on the left. That must have been the boys. A bunch of sports memorabilia and posters of players hung on his walls. I closed and tried the next. Thank God. I locked myself in the room. I looked in the mirror, in disbelief and disgust. I was a man, late 30s or early 40s. I had a small gut and stood about 6 foot. I had glasses and a short-trimmed beard. My hair was covered by a cap. I stared at the logo on it. I have no clue what team that is. I sat on the toilet, trying to wrap my head around any of this. I checked my pockets and found a wallet and my phone. His name is Todd. He's 39 years old. He's from Colorado. So I know the bare minimum of information about him, or me. I don't know the kids' names, I don't know the wife's. I pulled his phone out, no Face ID. I don't know the password. How do I fake any of this? I'm not Todd, father of 2. I'm Emma. How is any of this possible? What is happening? Am I dreaming? I remember I was driving. Did I got into an accident? That's all I know. Maybe I'm in a coma, just a long sleep. As I gaze into the face of this middle-aged man, every movement uncanny as the reflection of this man, mirrored every single action. Of course it was mirrored. It was me after all. The adrenaline began to subside as I finally felt a form of calm. I took a long good look at myself, relatively in shape, balding on top. The crease of my eyes had lines beginning to form, a subtle engraving of smile marks on my cheeks. The misery that came with the realization brought me to tears. Was I any more than a puppeteer? The man I am has so many happy memories with a family that adores him, and I hijack it and take over. Left destitute in the prison of my own conscience, locked in the body of someone new. And what's left for Todd? Is he snuffed out of existence just like that, or is he forced to rot in the recesses of his mind as I take his body for a joyride? I have no love for his wife or kids. Love isn't something you can fake, at least not to this level. I began to heave as the stress came back full force. You all right, honey? A sweetness laced her voice as to mask the concern. Yeah, just an upset stomach. I'll be back in a moment. The dread of communication with this family was foreboding. They weren't monsters nor creatures of the night, but simply a family. One that loved, laughed, and cared for each other. Deep-rooted, grounded in a town I didn't know. Past experiences and core memories erased from this vessel. I wanted to be dreaming, but the realness, the detail, and clarity in my surroundings made me come to terms with this being something else entirely. I couldn't hide forever. I would have to confront them and act as best I could. But how could I act like someone who I've never met, let alone heard of? Was he witty, quiet, loud, and proud? I would have to see how it all played out. I cleaned myself up and took a deep breath and stepped back into the dining room. Pictures of Christmases past and presumed relatives lined the wall, as the children sat with their plates almost empty, their laughter filling the room in a twist of jolly bursts and giggles. A goal I had wished to achieve, a happy, healthy family, enjoying time together. The pit in my stomach twisted with the ravenous gnaw of a stray dog. The room filled with joy, my heart shattered in the wake. I was a thief of happiness, a thief of life. My ears rang from the conversations around me like I had just landed on Normandy. I muted everything around me as I stared at the family portrait that hung over the doorway of the dining rooms. The face of the man was staring back at me. Todd, Todd, Todd! The shrilled screech cut through my haze. I darted my head to the source, the wife. Honey, where is your mind? Your son is trying to talk to you. Are you all right? You look like you've seen a ghost, Daddy. The little girl looked up at me with fear. I can assume I was pale. I felt the sweat running down my forehead. When not fixated on the photo, my eyes darted around like cornered prey. I'm okay, sweetie. I'm sorry, Daddy just isn't feeling good. I showed a soft smile to her. I wiped the sweat from my brow. Sorry, guys, I'm gonna go lay down. I just had to get away. I needed answers. I'm all groggy, babe. What's my phone password? I just needed to get into my phone and I could find something. What? It's our anniversary year, isn't it? She raised a brow at me, perhaps thinking I changed it for some reason. I didn't say anything. I sat looking back and forth. We just had our 10-year. Todd, are you okay? Seriously, you're scaring me. She started to get visibly upset. The tension in the room was suffocating. The kids were hushed, looking at their parents nearly as confused as I was. I fumbled for words and haphazardly abandoned my seat at the table, heading back to the bathroom. I pulled my phone out of my pocket and typed in 2015, unlocked. I let out a sigh of relief. Who do I call? The decision was daunting. I could call Ryan, but what do I say? Hey Ryan, it's Emma. I know I sound like I'm a grown man. That's because I am. But it's still me. Love you so much. Who was I kidding? That would be a nightmare. Maybe it would be the ultimate test of if personality prevails. I could try my parents. If I know what only I could know, maybe I could convince them. I tried what made sense in the moment. I called my cell phone. It didn't even ring, straight to voicemail. I heard my voice. Hey, this is Emma. Sorry I missed your call. I'll call back soon, bye. My voice, full of energy. I missed it. I hung up and held back tears the best I could. I should have slowed down, but everything, every death, the last breath of a life to the first as someone new, was one continuous line of consciousness for me. I didn't have time to reflect. I took a deep breath in. I'll call my dad. My fingers rattled as I put his number in. With an exhale, I called. The rings crawled its way from the phone and echoed in my ear. Anxiety flooded through my bloodstream. I couldn't do this. A hollow voice came through the speaker. Hello, my father forced out. Tears welled in my eyes. Hey, Scott, I managed to squeak. Who is this? His voice was thin, confused. I'm The rest of my life hinged on a few words, but they stuck like stone in my throat. If I couldn't say it, maybe I could ask instead. Emma, how's she doing? I already knew the answer. I'd killed myself a handful of times today, stumbling between lives, sitting now in the purgatory of suburbia. I just needed to hear it. Dead. My baby girl is dead. His voice broke, and he wept. I wanted to comfort him, tell him I was here. It's your ember, I cried. Your little light. What did you say? His sobs faltered. Realization crept in. It's me, Dad. I know it sounds crazy, but you rotten son of a bitch, what kind of sick game is this? His grief twisted to venom. No, I hope one day you feel the loss I feel. And when you do, I'll call you up and laugh in your face. You fucking prick. The line went dead. The silence pressed heavier than his words. I had lost something. No, everything. My family, my love, my future, my life. All I could do now was watch from the sidelines. The next couple days were spent as a chameleon. Good or bad, I couldn't really tell. The kids acted like they were talking to a stranger. I guess they were. The wife seemed suspicious as well, obviously, but luckily she didn't push too much. I had to call into work. Seems as though Todd was a biomechanical engineer at a nearby hospital. I had to play sick, but not too sick to be sent to his place of employment. I spent those days reminiscing and digging. Marketing executive dies in apparent fall from Seoul high-rise. Seoul, South Korea. A senior business executive died Tuesday morning. The victim, a chief marketing officer, CMO, for a multinational corporation, name redacted, had reportedly been acting normally throughout the day before a sudden, unexplained outburst. Witnesses say she began sprinting erratically through the office space before running toward a balcony and leaping from an upper floor. Colleagues told investigators that she had shown no clear warning signs of distress prior to the episode. Police have stated that foul play is not suspected and are treating the case as an apparent suicide, though the sudden nature of her behavior has raised questions. In a brief statement, the company expressed condolences. We are deeply saddened by this tragic event. Our thoughts are with the family, friends, and colleagues during this difficult time. Worker dies in rural construction accident. Alberta, Canada. A construction worker was killed Tuesday afternoon in a tragic accident at a rural worksite, according to local authorities. Witnesses said the man had been working without issue before suddenly breaking from his task and moving into the path of a steamroller. Despite immediate emergency response, he was pronounced dead at the scene. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police confirmed the incident and stated that foul play is not suspected. Investigators are reviewing safety conditions at the site and interviewing co-workers to determine the circumstances leading up to the accident. Mother in Bakewell hospitalized after postpartum episode. Bakewell, England. Local authorities confirmed that a single mother in Bakewell was taken into care this week following a severe postpartum stress episode. Perpetrator states she became convinced her 9-month-old child was possessed. She had contacted authorities after taking the life of the infant. The woman was transported to a nearby hospital for evaluation and is receiving ongoing medical and psychiatric support. Health officials note that postpartum stress and related conditions remain a serious concern for new parents. Resources and support services are available for families across Derbyshire. There it all was, my actions written into harsh news articles. The theories were wrong. It was me. I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. Todd had 39 years of memories, experiences, life, and I just came in and hijacked it. I don't know anything about his wife, anything about our kids. I can only fake it for so long until I don't know, but I can't kill him. It's ruining a family. It took me too long to realize that I killed somebody's child. I killed somebody who worked their whole life to get to the position that they're in, devastated. And their family. I killed a hardworking man, potentially had family that wonder why he ended up doing what he did, and I took away the ability for a father to hear his family weep and tell them that it's okay for him to move on. I didn't ask for any of this. God knows I didn't want to do this either. I don't know why I'm in this situation that I'm in. I don't know what I can do to convince my family that I'm me without sounding like a crazy stalker. I could keep going to find someone similar enough to me, reach out to Ryan and continue my life. How many lives and families would I ruin in the process? It's not worth it. Help me if anyone is in the same situation as me. Please help me. I'm stuck in the purgatory of middle-class family in a life I didn't design, with a family who loves me that I do not know. I'm a monster for what I've done. What did I do to deserve this in the first place? I'd rather be dead and gone than this shell of a life. Please help me.